Hi, all. I'm Cullen Haynes, and welcome to Law Live. It's fantastic to be chatting with my next guest, a true legend, gem, and powerhouse in every sense of the word. You would have seen him recently on the socials and perhaps in person at the Australian Law Awards for winning the Barrister of the Year for Momentum Media Lawyers Weekly of 2022. Author, mediator, barrister, filmmaker, writer, director. Is there anything this person can't do? I don't think so. So please make very welcome Mr. Darren Mort. Darren, how are you, sir?
Hey, Cullen. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, sir. You and me have been friends for a few years now, since we started.
Yeah.
I met you close to your premiere of Tommy back in the day, which has just had tremendous success.
Wow.
So I'd love to know what's happening in your circle of influence and your world at the moment.
Well, there's a lot going on, particularly since I won that recent award, which was so nice. Look, I've written a kids' book which was on ice basically because of COVID, Millionaire Magic Puppet Show. And so I've just acquired a publisher for that book, which is very exciting, Wilson Publishing. And so that book's going to be in the marketplace very soon. And there'll be a reissue of Tommy and Tiger Terry along.
Great. Tommy, which was the book itself. I think we're having perhaps a little bit of issues on the internet, but just to fill in while that's happening, Tommy and Tiger Terry was the story of a young boy who is your mum and dad were separating, right? Is that right, Darren? Mum and dad separating, and it's, I guess you can tell everyone what I guess the theme of the book about and the message is about.
Yeah, sure. It's about international child abduction. The book is set back in the 1950s, but it's based on a true story.
Yes.
And it's about a little girl who gets abducted from Melbourne to the Orkney Islands in Scotland. And she sort of is a Lady Gaga figure, though I've sort of based it on Joni Mitchell a bit because every chapter in the book is named after a Joni Mitchell character.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, after a song, I mean. And so it's very cool. It's very funny, but it's very pointed as well. And during the book, she thinks her father's passed away, and then she rediscovers her father, and it's a reunion. So it's like, if you're into films, Cullen, it's like Philomena meets A Star Is Born. So.
Oh, I love Philomena. It's fantastic. I think there's a great sentiment. So this is almost like a historical fiction in a way, would you say, this new book that you've written, Darren?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because we had some connection issues, I think people were a bit may have not heard that your other book, Tommy and Tiger Terry, which is a best-selling children's book, that is about a little boy whose parents are fighting, they're going through a divorce, and I guess the ramifications of what can happen to the silent children in that process. I'd love to hear more on that because I don't think people know. Some people don't know about that book, and I think it's a very powerful book too.
Yeah, sure. Look, the book was loosely based on another family law case I did. And the book is about children understanding that during parental separation, they're not alone, they're loved, and importantly, it's not their fault. Often children, particularly young children, blame themselves for their parents' separation. So the book sends those powerful messages out. It's a great book for little kids to read, but it's also a good book for parents to read too and get some pretty profound messages. I sort of wrote it like The Simpsons, where you get these adult messages, but you also get the kids' messages as well. And that's how the books are written. And in Millie's book, she has a chant, which she does with Tommy and her friend Sammy. And it's all about empowering children because it's very important for me, particularly where I've come to in my profession, that children are given a voice. And parents need to listen to that voice, and the court needs to listen to that voice because it's important that children are not discounted. Their views are important, even if they're not adopted by the court, they are important nonetheless. And of course, that depends on their maturity and their maybe their intelligence even, and their emotional quotient, things like that. But it's really important to at least listen to what they've got to say and measure it accordingly, in terms of whether the court's going to put a lot of weight on those wishes. But a lot of times parents, like a simple case, a kid falls over and hurts his or her knee. And the parent says, "Oh, come on, get up, you'll be all right." And
Yes.
and it's not really listening to the child. It's not really validating their concerns that they've fallen over and they're hurt. So it's a matter for parents to validate, to reframe, and to redirect. And a lot of times, look, we're all guilty of it. God, I'd be sent to jail for 10 years, no doubt, with my kids. But because you do as parents, everyone's got their faults and no one's perfect. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, all this information helps. And kids are born into this world without instruction manual. Every child and every family is different. So it's important to cater for those needs. And as you can hear in my voice, I'm very passionate about that, Cullen.
Very passionate, very passionate. And I would say this is a rare opportunity for people. We've got Mina saying, hello, how are you? We got Cat May Jeffrey saying, woohoo, you guys rock. This is alive. It is 1:22, Wednesday, the 14th of September. So please, if you've got some questions for Darren, please put them in the comments. And if there's anything that Darren can help you in on a future matter or whatnot, please feel to DM him as well. So you do so much, Darren. You're a barrister, you're a writer, you're an author, you're a filmmaker. How do you balance all these things? And obviously the stage and the playcraft that you do as well. I'd love to know how you balance your time. It seems that we've got a little bit of an issue. I think we're back now. How do you balance your time, Darren?
How do I balance my time? Well,
yeah.
If Kat Jeffrey's online, she could probably tell you.
Oh, good.
I don't know, Cullen. I've always been, my attention span's not that flash probably, and I've always been a juggler. I've always had a dual career, so far as being a barrister and an actor. They've always parallel for as long as I can remember. And it's only recently where the two paths have crossed as a result of setting up the registered charity To Be Loved Network and producing resources, films and books and creative things, that the two have really crossed paths. But I don't sleep all that much, I suppose, in essence. And I think sometimes passion overcomes tiredness. And if you need to get a job done, you get it done. So I prepare my cases very thoroughly for trial. I'm very passionate about my clients and putting their best forward
Yes. And that passion is conveyed there, Darren.
I'm also very this connection keeps dropping out for some reason. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I'm in a couple of plays at the moment at La Mama, which is very exciting. I'm doing a musical called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which is exciting. And as I said, I've got my books coming up, so it's all go.
It's exciting. It's exciting. And Mina wants to know, how do you keep all the motivation doing all these products? Where does the drive, where does the passion come from? Thanks, Mina.
Yeah, well, I think because of I'm passionate about kids' rights, and that seems to fuel a lot of my projects. The stuff I do with acting is really a situation that it fuels my personal needs, because I love getting up there and doing some acting and being on set. I did a Ladbrokes commercial recently, which was fun. But I've got a great theatrical agent, Charmaine Gilchrist. She's fantastic, and I'm just blessed to have. I think the real answer to Mina's question is I'm surrounded by a really solid tribe of people, where we support each other, where we cheer each other on, and that we're genuinely happy for the gains that we make along the way. And I think that's really important. You've got to get rid of haters. Haters are no good to your life. You've got to stop trying to please haters. You've just got to surround yourself by really good people like you, Cullen. You've got to surround yourself by really good people who, are there to support you and you support them.
I love that there, Darren. And as you know, my phraseology on haters is I need more because the old ones are starting to like me. So bring them on, bring them on. And Kat is one of your fans. His passion is truly second to none, and he does whatever it takes to make it happen and make it work.
No,
And
she's a gem.
another one, he has a huge cheer squad. So thank you so much, Kat. Does the
Thanks.
law need to change? A nice little, I guess, segue. Obviously, for those that don't know, lawyers are very passionate about advocacy, and no more so than barristers. But having dealt with many barristers, they're very 24/7 law. And if it's not law, they're talking about law. And if it's not talking about law, it's reading about law. And I guess those that maybe don't do law 24/7, it might be something seen as I don't know, a bit odd. What do you think about that? Does that mindset need to change, that you have to be a lawyer or an advocate 24/7?
Well, I think the answer is no. I think it's a bonus in life to, Forrest Gump said, life's like a box of chocolates. You just got to know which one to pick. And I think it's a lot like that. I was talking to a friend the other day. I won't mention any names, but this person is a judge about to retire. And this person said to me, look, I've got nothing in my life now. I'm retiring and all my interests have waned off. I've just got nothing. And I thought to myself after that meeting, I thought, gee, I'm really fortunate because I've got all these wonderful interests and wonderful people around me and things to continue to inspire me. And so in answer to your question, yeah, look, law is really important and it feeds my interests. But I think you can't go through life with just one interest. I think
makes sense.
I think it diminishes you as a person. And I'm just fortunate in family law whereby I can actually feed my other interests. Like I get to present nationally and internationally. I get to present with some amazing people, psychologists and judges, and that they feed the knowledge that I need in my practice as a lawyer to make me a better lawyer. But they also feed my artistic side in creating resources for children. So it's very handy having a toe in both ponds, if you know what I mean. It's fairly unique. I suppose it's fairly unique, but I'm just fortunate, Cullen, that it's just happened. And it doesn't happen overnight either. It's like people when they win an Emmy award, they say, oh, wow, good on you. But they don't look behind it and see it's taken 20 or 30 years to win their first Emmy award,
No, so, you know what? No, I think that plays to the part. I think someone once said, and they said it so eloquently, we want our heroes ready-made. No one wants to see the hard yards that went into, I guess, winning an award or writing a book or becoming an Olympic athlete or whatever it is, because that would mean that person is human. And that by extension would mean that person viewing them have it in them. And no one wants to think that they do, because then they would have to try, or maybe they feel insecure about it. So it's a very good point. Now, your book is actually, and the film is actually mandated in the US.
Absolutely.
In the district courts. I'd love to talk about that, because not many people know that it's had a huge impact over there, especially couples separating. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can tell me if I am, it's I guess required viewing for couples separating, that they watch this movie to see the impacts on their children.
Yeah, well, there's an amazing man I met over there called Judge Bruce Cohen, who's a Superior Court judge in Arizona. And I got to present, he saw my film through a psychologist I know in the States and contacted me immediately and was just blown backwards by Tommy. And then I got to present with him in Chicago this year with Dr. Phil Stall at a family law conference over there, which was amazing. But as a result of Tommy and the impact that it's made in the United States, he has developed a program with the head of courts in America, and Tommy is embedded into a high conflict model, which they're using in the court system and outside the court system, where judges can now or soon be able to order parents be involved in this program, which means watching Tommy, which is which is amazing. Yeah.
I think that's so important, because I think it's very easy, speaking from the outside and having watched the film and being so moved by it and the book, of I guess getting so wrapped up in the fact that the relationship's broken down and that hate in the other person, that the child does sometimes get forgotten. And I think you use the word weaponizing children against the other party, which is very sad that it does happen in family law.
Yeah, it is. It is sad, and parents do weaponize. And I think, stepping back from the picture, I think it's because they just don't prioritize children's needs. They prioritize their own feelings, adverse feelings towards the other parent. And what I never understand is that, once upon a time, these two parents loved each other. They loved each other enough to be fortunate enough to create a child and to raise that child. And then separation occurs and everything just falls away. And it's like this little kid stuck in the middle of a battlefield watching his parents throw grenades at each other. So it's very impactful watching the film, because the parents in the film do weaponize the child. Just saying things like, I think the mother says at the start when she's picking up Tommy from Contact Changeover, "Oh, did your father make those pancakes for you? You know they're not good for you." Things like that. "I'll tell mummy you want to spend more time with me." I mean, it's just not. It's bad. It's bad behavior. It's bad parenting, and it doesn't promote the child's interests. So I think there's a lot of lessons to be developed. But watching that film, there's an amazing solicitor who runs the Lane Project in Kansas City in the United States, and she watched the film and she got in contact with me, and the two of us, mainly her, to give her credit, developed discussion papers for lawyers. And
yes. Sounds like she created something very impactful that lawyers could be using ongoing, Darren. That's fantastic.
Has been a really important bonus. Yep, a bonus package. Having those discussion papers as an adjunct to the film, to be able to take people through various things pointed in the film and give them some insight or assist with their insight development.
No, I think that's great that there's, supplementary material, because you read a book, you watch a film, and you think, oh, that's a great way to look at it, isn't it? But actually doing exercises and some pointed questions to maybe put that mirror up, right? And actually look at your own actions to see, what could I be doing? I think that's a fantastic, that's fantastic. And look, we've got Kat saying she's your number one fan. Thanks, Kat. Mina's actually made a good comment. Sometimes it is easier to forget that you love someone if you just want to hurt them. What are your thoughts to Mina's point there?
Yeah, that is so true, because people in separations are hurting so badly, and the pain is so extraordinary that it's hard to conceptualize, I suppose. So sometimes it is easier to hate someone than to love someone. And a lot of that's got to do with self-projection, as we were talking about before. So absolutely, Mina's on the money there.
Yeah, and another one of our powerhouses, Shifa, has put in, this type of behavior of common is fine, I find. My first thought is always, how aware is the judiciary of these tactics? What are your thoughts on that question that Shifa's put up there, Darren?
Look, I think the family court judges are onto it. You only have to read people's affidavit material. We're also benefited from family consultants or psychologists that prepare reports. There's all sorts of personality testing. So I think the family court judges are onto it. And the problem with the family court, of course, is the delays and the costs for people. If you can't agree on something, ultimately through mediation or some other device, it's very difficult, because the only recourse is the court, and the court does its best, but it's pretty hard in situations whereby its resources are quite tight, and it takes a long time for people to get to any hearing. So it makes it hard. And I always used to think years ago that it took two to tango, but having worked in the family court now for over 32 years, I realise some cases it only takes one to tango. It only takes one parent to cause issues, which ultimately spill out into the child and affects the relationship the child has with the other parent. So it's quite compelling, actually, Cullen.
No, it is. And Shiv has also said I will add mediators and FDRPs as well to that as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
to
yeah.
follow on.
There's a whole army of people out there to assist parents, but they've got to want to be assisted. It's no good dragging a horse to water, so to speak. And when their emotional levels are so high, and their feelings of contempt for the other parent are so outrageous, then any remedies that are available, it makes it very difficult for those people to have the insight to grab those remedies, or the resources to assist them through a difficult time. I always say to clients, look, one of my first questions are you getting some form of counselling? Are you seeing a psychologist or a counsellor to help you through that? A lot of blokes will say, no, I don't need that. I've got my family, I've got my mates down at the pub. But they do. And a lot of women are much more insightful in that sense. They'll go and see a psychologist or someone, but men often struggle with that, and they're quite ashamed of it too. I was acting for a guy the other day who couldn't get out of bed for 4 months, and he said to me, "Oh, I wasn't depressed though." And I said, "Well, look, I think you are. I think you look. I'm not a doctor, but you sound like you're pretty dysthymic, pretty low mood. You're not working." You're not sleeping. I think you should see a doctor and maybe see a counsellor. You might even need medication. I don't know.
Talk to someone.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shiv said, thank you so much, Darren. Always mindful of the burden of the lack of resource, pretty much. Takes two to tango. So there you go. And Mina, thank you, Shifa. And Mina's actually come in again. Do you think a similar program as the one implemented in America that you did can be done in Australia? Or is there a problem with our system that we have here, the I guess the adversarial system we have in place? Could it not be implemented here, do you think, Darren? It's a good question.
Thanks, we're back. Yeah. I just saw Mina's question, Colin. Sorry, this line's really bad today. I don't know what's going on.
That's okay. We're doing great. It's great content. We've got a lot of viewers on your live stream there, Darren. So people are really interested about what you're saying on this and the questions. So keep them coming.
Look, in answer to Mina's question, I'm really hoping we can do something like this in Australia. I'm really keen to get something like this before the Attorney General. I'm going to speak to the people in America to see whether there are any licensing possibilities, or even the possibility of developing our own program here in Australia. I'd like to do something about the men's behavioural change course. I'd like to make that a little bit more tailored. I'd like to involve women in that process, whether as victims or perpetrators as well. I think there's room for expansion.
Yes. I think so too. I think there's a lot of room for improvement and expansion there. That's a good question, Mina. Thank you so much for that. And while we're waiting for Darren's internet to come back, I would encourage everyone watching to make sure you have a look at... Oh, you're back? I think you're back there, Darren. It just cut out for a moment.
Yeah, I'm back. I was just saying, Colin, that I'm hoping to actually tailor a program and hopefully get it before someone in the Attorney General's department to have a look at, because I think the families of Australia could really benefit from such a program. And they don't necessarily have to be in court either. It could be a program that could be utilised by mediators, FDRPs, solicitors, whatever, to help people.
I think so. Very well said. And thank you, Mina, for that question. I guess lessons for young readers, barristers, or those wanting to be called to the bar and be an advocate, Darren. What would you say your biggest takeaways of having so long, 20, 30 years in doing what you're doing? What would you say to them if they're watching right now?
I'd say don't be afraid. Be valiant in court. Be respectful. Put your client's case forward strongly. Never fear the bench. Respect the bench, but never fear the bench. Always maintain your honour, of course, as a barrister. But mostly, I think, just listen to your clients. I think people want to be listened to. They don't want to be told. There's a time for telling and there's a time for listening. If you tell your clients, they're just going to phase out. It's going to become white noise, because they're too emotionally drained in the circumstances to take that on board. So I think listen to your clients, take it on board, reality test them, and explore ways forward for them to get them out of the system as quickly as possible. Yeah.
I think
and don't just do law, do other things. Enjoy your life, because it goes like that. Before you know it, you're where I am, 30 years later, and you think, oh my God, but I look back now and I've had some fantastic times at the bar. The bar's been an amazing place, and we're very privileged in our positions, and I feel like, I say this time and time again, every case I get, I feel like a voyeur. I'm opening up the books and I'm diving into people's personal lives. So we're very privileged as lawyers. So don't forget that. Don't forget how privileged you are,
So many cogent insights that I'm very moved by what you're saying there, Darren. And on that note, is there not a risk, but people can maybe get too invested in their clients' altercations with each other, and when they're writing to the other side, they inject their own anger and bias in there? Do you think that could be a lesson as well to, I guess, young lawyers out there?
Absolutely. We are not paid to judge our clients. There are judges for that. We are paid to act on our instructions and act diligently and professionally. It's not a platform to abuse the other side. It's not a platform to write putrid letters. I was acting for I won't name names, of course, but I was acting for a person.
Of course. We'll call them Barry. Yes, yeah, acting for Barry.
I was acting for Barry recently, and this person was
at the moment of
significant family violence.
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
And the solicitor on the other side would write these putrid, offensive letters to my client. And of course, Barry would get very upset. The letters were often sent at 5 p.m. on a Friday to ruin Barry's weekend. And the particular lawyer was not very far away from being reported by me, because the impact that his letters were having on Barry were so significant, particularly given her the terrible family violence that she endured, which wasn't just alleged, it was proven. So it's people sometimes, particularly old school lawyers, they think that they're doing their clients a good job, a service, by getting onto this platform and doing what they.
Very, very interesting points that you make there, Darren. I think a lot of people can get a lot of value from them. Schiffer said, well said. So grateful, Darren and Cullen. Edward Z has said, love it. Thank you, Edward. So that's great. And also Schiffer just mentioned on what you were talking about before, could those programs also have a mandatory counsellor element to them, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the family court has a particular order a court can make where a counsellor is involved with the FDRP, a family consultant, and absolutely, I think that's a really good idea moving forward. Yeah. And it's something. Funnily enough, I've been talking to one particular psychologist about, in terms of having a mediator and having a family consultant side by side to assist with parenting plans and things of that nature.
That's a good point, actually. That's a good point. Like in tandem, that might be beneficial. Go ahead.
Because as lawyers, we're not psychologists.
No.
So, and we don't, I don't think you can afford to pretend to be. So, psychologists do what they do, lawyers do what they do. Yeah.
No, of course. And you can become that accidental counsellor, right? And that's not what you're paid to do. You're paid to be an advocate, listen, and do your best in the best interest of your client.
I would never be a counsellor. It is too hard. I don't know
No,
how counsellors do it. I take my hat off to them. They deserve
absolutely.
gold, because it's a really tough job. It's a really tough job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And hats off to any psychologists, counselors, psychotherapists watching. Have a lot of appreciation for what you do.
Absolutely.
When all is said and done, there, Darren, how would you, Darren Mort, like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as someone holding a big megaphone, saying it's really important to listen to kids. That's my legacy. The children's voice, the voice of a child. That's what I'd like to be remembered as. Yeah.
And you're already doing that in spades, Darren. And you're a true gem. The law world, the acting world, the children's world is far better because you're on this earth. And
nice
and I think your peers and everyone obviously know that, because Barrister of the Year obviously says volumes about what you're doing. So well done, sir. And thank you for joining us on Our Law Live.
Thank you for having me, and always a pleasure and great to see you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And where can we find you before you go? Where's your best hangout there, Darren?
The best hangout online? Probably if people want to message me on LinkedIn, that's a great platform. A special plug to Ed Zia for helping me get that up and running properly. There he is, and you, of course, Cullen. But LinkedIn's great, and otherwise, our children's website is tobeloved.org.au. You can always,
and I'll make sure everyone gets that To Be Loved in the show notes and on the podcast as well. There, Darren. I think it's really important that people actually have a look at that. It's such an important foundation. I think we might have lost Darren for a moment. We'll bring Darren back, but thank you for everyone watching. Tune in next time for another episode of Law Live. We come out every Wednesday, and we'll soon upload this to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day, everyone. Darren, we're bringing you back for some bonus questions, my friend. How would you explain what you do to a 6-year-old in terms of what you do?
How do I explain? That's not an easy question. I would explain to them that I'm there to help them understand that lots of other kids go through what they're going through, that their mum and dad still love them, and they're not alone. And it's really important that what they say has some weight, and that they'll be listened to. So overall, I'm there to help them.
That's amazing. I think and it's really simple. It's really simple. Anyone can understand that. So that's really good there, Darren. And last bonus question. If you could give advice to yourself at any stage in your life, what advice would that be? And when would you give it to yourself? Oh, the moment of drama. Here we go. When do you think you'd give this advice to yourself, and what advice would you give, Darren?
Sorry, can you just repeat that, Cullen? Because
So it's one of those. I'm a physics major at UNSW. Shout out to them. And I always think back, if I could have got advice for myself, what would it be? So if you could give yourself any advice back in time, what advice would that be, and when would you visit yourself? At what age?
I visit myself at 27. Because I'm still 27 inside at the moment.
Yes.
And I'd say to myself, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be heard. And I'd also say to myself, life is there for taking, and importantly, don't listen to what other people think about what you're doing. As long as you're noble to your cause and stay focused, that's all that matters. Because I always hark back to that film Field of Dreams: build and they will come. And the same thing goes. The same thing goes for your tribes in life. Do what you do, and you'll be surrounded by a tribe before you know it. And that's what's happened to me, basically.
I think that's fantastic and sage wisdom there, Darren. And do not take advice from anyone who on the journey who is not left home. And I think Many
Yes.
people often give you feedback and you go, oh, really, have you done that? No, but it sounds scary, so I don't think you should do it. It's like, well, thank you so much for that unsolicited advice. All the best. Darren, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day, everyone. Enjoy your Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks, Cullen.